both for my normal class.
Okay, so we are going to review exponents, expressions, and touch on what a radical is, and then we're going to move on past it to quadratic functions. So if you remember an expression, right, an expression is just similar to an equal sign without that equation. Sorry, similar to an equation without that equal sign. So expression is any mathematical sentence that has numbers, variables, or operations, okay? And exponents you know as powers. So we're going to review how to simplify an expression. So there's a difference between solving and simplify. Okay? So on an expression, you simplify or you can evaluate. You do not solve an expression. You only solve an equation. So we did this one on our skills review test, right? And you distribute the 6. For number 2, right, we did this one as well. We got to distribute the x to everything, and then we got to distribute this 2 to everything. So this becomes x squared, and then x times negative 3 is negative 3. X, 2 times x is plus 2x. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then you need to make sure that you combine like terms. So you have x squared minus x minus 6. 3, you are evaluating for negative 4. So I'm going to take first and I'm going to combine like terms. X squared plus x, because 2x minus x is 1x. And then I'm going to substitute in that negative 4. Negative 4 squared. Remember to always use those parentheses because they're going to help you. If you just use your calculator and you put negative 4 squared, you're going to get the wrong answer. So because of space, I'm going to change the color and hopefully you could see it better. But negative 4 squared, right, is 16 minus 4 because you simplify that plus and a minus, right? And then your solution would be a 12. The last one, again, I'm going to evaluate for these two values. So I'm going to use my parentheses. 2 parentheses 7 parentheses 2 minus parentheses 6. Okay? And so then I simplify one parentheses at a time. So this is going to be 14 minus 6. And then I have 2 times 8. And then my solution would be 16. Radicals and exponents. So exponents is powers. You need to know the rules, okay? The rules are according to the base. Okay, so the base is this bottom number. That's what the base means, the bottom. So whenever they have the same base, okay, for addition, remember all the time that adding is simply counting. We get a little lost in that sometimes, okay? So I have x squared plus x squared. I have 2x squared. Again, we're simply counting, okay? So if I had 2x cubed plus 1x cubed, I'm going to have 3x cubed, okay? The rule for multiplication, when you are multiplying the same base, okay, you're going to add the exponents. So 2 plus 2 is 4. This would be x to the 4th. When you are dividing the base, then you're going to subtract the exponents. So this would be x to the 7th minus that 4. Solution would be x to the 3rd. Whenever you have a negative exponent, whenever there's a negative exponent, you're going to flip and change the sign. So this x to the negative 3rd, you flip it. Right now it's in the numerator, and you put it in the denominator. This becomes x to the positive 3. If it starts off as x to the negative 3 on the bottom, then you flip it to the top, and this becomes x to the positive 3 on the top. Whenever it's raised to the 0, so whenever you have a 0 exponent, it's always going to be equal to 1.
Mom, it says
The solution will always be 1. Whenever you have an exponent of a 1, the solution will always be the identity. So you'll get back what it was. What, Deuce?
It said the antivirus protected.
Yes, Deuce, you told me that yesterday. Just click out of it. So, I would tell you to pause the screen right now so you can actually practice, okay? I strongly encourage you to do so. Pause the screen so you can actually practice right now. Don't just watch me do these, right? Because then you're defeating the purpose of learning. So the answer to these, right? And I would always say when you have the numbers, you simplify them before you combine the exponents. So this would be 8. Again, you're adding. When you come to subtraction, you're just counting. So this would be 3x squared. This is multiplication, so I'm going to add those exponents, x to the 9th. Multiplication, you treat the numbers the same, so 2 times 3 is 6, and then I add the exponents. For E, there's imaginary 1 with every plain number. So you subtract, this would be x to the 3rd. F, you treat the numbers, that 2 and that 4, right? Like you would any other division. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then you subtract. 6 take away 2 is 4. For G, when you subtract, 7 minus 7 is going to be 0. Anything raised to the 0 is 1. Negative 125 raised to the 0 is 1. Last thing for this slide is some vocabulary, okay? This is most likely all new vocabulary. Nth root, okay? That just means the number root it is. You have square root, right, which just looks like this. Then you have cubed root, which looks like a little cubed on it, right? But you have all the way up to 125th root. They go on forever. So nth root just means what number root it is. Radicand. Radicand is the number inside. Where that green A is, that's the number inside. Index. Index is the little number outside. Square root has an imaginary 2 that's not there. All the rest of them, the number will be outside. That is called the index. This 3. So here, the index equals 2. Here, the index equals 3. Okay? Principal root. Principal root just means positive root. So it's the one that's positive. So the square root of 4, let me use 9. The square root of 9 is going to be 3 and -3, because both of those squared would get you back 9. However, the principal root is the positive one. That's the one you've learned all your life up until this point. Irrational means it cannot be simplified. You cannot take the square root of 2. This is irrational. And real roots are just real numbers. Okay? Real roots are just real numbers.